speak. Facts and opinions, bold and unique. No filter, no fear. The moment is right. On air delivers day or night.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, our mission. We take a stack of sources, pull out the absolute best insights, and basically give you the ultimate shortcut to being informed.
Exactly.
And today, we are diving deep into an artist who will really define the intersection of sex, commerce, and control in pop culture. The one and only Madonna.
Yep. 4 decades.
4 decades of just relentless cultural influence.
And we're going way beyond just the hit singles here. Our goal, our mission is to really synthesize the specific ways Madonna didn't just, sell albums. She fundamentally changed the operating system for female celebrity, changed the expectations for performance, and even the business structure of the music industry itself.
And it's super relevant right now, too, the current news hook making this timely. Our research shows the Queen of Pop is actually set to return with a new album in 2026.
First studio album in 7 years.
Yeah, and it's a reunion. She's reportedly working again with producer Stuart Price.
Oh, interesting.
And get this, returning to Warner Records, the label that launched her, where she spent the first 25 years of her career.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, perfect timing to really examine the cultural institution she built. Because the numbers alone, while they're staggering.
Right. 300 million albums sold.
Over 1.3 billion earned from tours. 3 Grammys. I mean, those stats, they just don't capture the actual seismic impact she had on society.
No, not at all.
We need to look at her blueprint.
Okay, let's start right there. Because her early life, it really seems like a crucible for reinvention, doesn't it? Losing her mother at 5.
Devastating.
And one detail from the sources that jumped out at me, she found stardom relatively late, age 25.
Yeah, think about that compared to, like, Britney Spears or Ariana Grande, who are basically kids.
Right. She wasn't some instant pop product pushed out by a label. She was already a fully formed adult persona when she hit the scene.
And what's fascinating there is how that independence, that sort of self-creation, it fueled her revolution of the whole celebrity concept. She became this early pioneer of personal branding, long before anyone was even talking about personal branding, let alone had social media to do it.
She always seemed to be curating her own documentation, didn't she? Like, one article highlighted her first big film role, Desperately Seeking Susan in '85.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally shown taking Polaroids of herself, like an undeniable precursor to the modern selfie.
Totally. She was recording her own legend in real time. It's amazing.
And the self-curation, it absolutely extended into how she used fashion, not just clothes, but as a tool for, well, power and controversy.
Oh, absolutely. Her collaborations, especially with Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, the iconic cone bra, the corsets for the Blonde Ambition tour.
Legendary.
They weren't just outfits. Gaultier even called her his best collaboration. It shows how deliberate she was, using clothing to communicate this radical sexual assertiveness, turning lingerie into, like, armor.
Okay, so she controlled the visual. Did she also lock down the finances early on? She always seemed incredibly savvy.
Oh, incredibly.
Starting with her '86 album, True Blue, she made sure she had a writing or production credit on every single song. Was that just creative or a calculated business move?
It was absolutely a savvy business maneuver, 100%. It guaranteed her control, creative input, and crucially, a hefty share of the royalties on every single hit.
Which was not standard practice then.
Not at all. Decades ahead of many peers who were just relying on performance royalties. She was protecting her future wealth right from the start.
And that financial foresight, it kind of culminated in that massive industry disruption in 2007, right? When she walked away from the traditional record deal model.
She was one of the very first huge global stars to do it. Blew people's minds.
Yeah.
Signed that 10-year, $100 million partnership with Live Nation. It completely shifted the paradigm.
What did that deal actually cover?
It bundled everything: albums, merchandising, touring rights. Basically, it relied on the artist as the main touring powerhouse, especially as digital streaming was taking over.
So the record became marketing.
Exactly. Marketing for the high-yield live performance. She saw where the money was shifting.
Okay, so she secured the business, total financial independence. That muscle must have directly translated into the sheer, well, outrageousness and scale of her live shows, which brings us neatly to part 2, the spectacle.
Precisely. That financial independence gave her the freedom, the leverage, to push every envelope. Our research notes she immediately set a new bar for live performance, moving way past what the sources called the visually dull live performances of the late 80s.
Yeah, she basically created the contemporary pop spectacle we now just expect from everyone, right?
She really did. And she perfected the art of the defining controversial moment, the kind that instantly puts an entire awards show on the map.
You have to be talking about the '84 MTV Video Music Awards, like a virgin.
That performance defined the VMAs. It practically made the VMAs.
Showing up in that wedding dress, the boy toy belt.
And then rolling around on the stage floor at Radio City Music Hall. People were stunned.
It was shocking, provocative. Instantly cemented her as this global provocateur.
And arguably every major VMA performance since then by every artist has been kind of chasing that initial level of splash, that impact.
And the tours themselves, they became transformative events. The 1990 Blonde Ambition Tour really set a new standard, physically and creatively.
Oh, it was a logistical marvel for its time. You had designer costumes by Gaultier, elaborate moving sets.
How big was the ensemble?
A huge team. 7 dancers, 2 backup singers. She integrated choreography, high fashion, theater. In a way, pop peers just weren't doing. It raised the bar for what a concert ticket should deliver, big time.
But she wasn't just shocking people on stage. She turned the music video into something else entirely, didn't she? A tool for societal commentary, not just, promoting a song.
Absolutely. Revolutionized the industry. Like a prayer video from '89 is the classic case study here. So much cinematic controversy packed in.
The religious imagery alone. Burning crosses, stigmata.
And that really intense storyline involving a statue of a black saint coming to life and addressing the wrongful incarceration of a black man. It tackled institutional injustice head-on.
It caused global shockwaves. I remember the fallout. Pepsi dropped their massive $5 million ad sponsorship deal with her because of it.
Huge backlash.
Did she ever face, real lasting financial consequences for constantly pushing those boundaries? Or did she always manage to spin it?
Sometimes there were immediate hits, like the Pepsi deal, but she always found a way to spin it. Master of media jujitsu. Remember when MTV banned her super steamy Justify My Love video in 1990?
Oh, yeah. Too explicit.
Right. So what did she do? Turned censorship into pure profit. She immediately released the banned footage as a video single on VHS.
On $9.98. I remember seeing those in stores.
Exactly. And it was hugely successful. She turned a boycott into a business opportunity. Genius, really.
Okay, this really leads us into her decades-long position on the front lines of cultural warfare, particularly around gender and age. Her unapologetic advocacy for women's control over their sexuality and lives is just so central to her legacy.
Absolutely central. She basically became the loudest megaphone for female empowerment in pop music at the time. Songs like Express Yourself, Human Nature. They were direct calls for women to seize control.
Yeah, express yourself. Don't repress yourself.
Exactly. And she used her visual language to hammer that home, moving way beyond traditional passive expressions of femininity.
One source highlighted something fascinating in the Express Yourself video. She reclaimed the crotch grab.
Yeah, a gesture made famous by male stars like Michael Jackson. She took it and turned it into this undeniable act of female power, female assertion.
And when she channeled Marilyn Monroe in Material Girl,
she flipped the script. Instead of presenting Marilyn as, a tragic figure or a victim, Madonna portrayed her as this spokeswoman for unapologetic sexual assertiveness and, material desire. Owning it.
But the battle she's fought that feels maybe even more relevant today, especially for our listener, is against ageism.
Oh, profoundly relevant.
She managed to stay culturally central far longer than so many of her 80s contemporaries. Prince, George Michael, Whitney Houston, many of whom were younger when they started.
She just refused.
Yeah.
Refused to accept the cultural expiration date society tries to slap on female artists.
And the double standard is just blindingly obvious, isn't it?
Completely. You have older male rock stars like Mick Jagger or Rod Stewart, still celebrated for their sexuality well into their later years.
No one bats an eye.
Right. But female artists, they face intense mockery, criticism for not acting their age. Madonna addressed this head-on in her 2016 Women of the Year acceptance speech.
Ah, that quote. It's perfect.
It really distills her whole career longevity, doesn't it? She said, "People say I'm controversial, but I think the most controversial thing I've ever done is to stick around."
Wow.
Just by refusing to disappear, refusing to conform to the idea that older women become invisible or irrelevant in the cultural landscape, she arguably raised the age cutoff for female pop relevance by at least a decade, maybe more.
Beyond gender and age, she was also this pioneering ally for marginalized groups, often when it wasn't popular or safe to be.
way ahead of the curve. She became an outspoken mouthpiece for people living with AIDS as early as the 1980s. Famously included that leaflet, The Facts About AIDS, in every copy of her 1989 album, Like a Prayer.
That took guts back then.
Immense guts. And her allyship was often visual and typically provocative. In the 91 documentary, Truth or Dare,
Right, the backstage stuff.
she showed two of her male dancers kissing on screen. That was just unprecedented. Such a public display of same-sex affection at that time. Huge.
She also pushed boundaries around abortion discourse, didn't she?
Yeah, she was among the first major global stars to speak, frankly, unapologetically, about having had abortions herself. That was in a 1994 interview. Again, breaking taboos.
Okay, let's pivot slightly, because part 4 is about the unexpected influences, the cultural shifts she triggered that maybe aren't tied to the usual controversies.
Yeah, this stuff is fascinating. The sources highlight 3 really interesting areas. First, she actually helped reverse that pervasive disco sucks mentality from the early 80s.
Really? How so?
Well, she never abandoned her roots in dance music, in disco. She borrowed heavily from artists like Raw Silk, the Salsa Orchestra, kept that vibe alive in her music.
And then culminated with Hung Up, right?
Exactly. In 2005, she famously got permission, which was super rare, from ABA to sample their hook from Gimme, Gimme, Gimme for her massive global hit, Hung Up.
ABBA almost never allows samples.
Almost never. That move, that song, really cemented disco's full comeback into the mainstream. She made it cool again.
Okay, second surprising influence, her role in making yoga mainstream.
Yeah, hard to believe now, but before the early 2000s, yoga was definitely not the massive wellness industry it is today. It was much more niche.
So how did she influence that?
She became its ultimate global ambassador, essentially. In her huge 1998 interview on Oprah, she declared she was gym-free and only practiced yoga.
Wow, okay, on Oprah.
And then later that year, she went on the Rosie O'Donnell show and actually demonstrated a sun salutation.
No way!
Yes. So for millions watching, she was the first really famous, cool, athletic face giving legitimacy to yoga, making it seem desirable, not just, some fringe thing.
That's a huge unexpected impact. And the third one,
Prefiguring the entire modern reality TV era with her 1991 documentary, Truth or Dare.
okay. Explain that connection.
That documentary just defined a new level of celebrity exhibitionism. It blended the glossy, perfect concert footage with this grainy, almost uncomfortably intimate backstage black and white stuff.
Right, showing arguments, vulnerability.
Exactly. It basically taught the public and other celebrities that stardom now required constant exposure. That messy authenticity, or at least the performance of it, was part of the brand.
And that infamous moment with Warren Beatty, who was her boyfriend then. That's key, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the key moment. He's caught on camera, clearly uncomfortable, asking her, why would you say something if it's off camera?
And her reply.
Immediate, defiant. What point is there in existing? Boom! That line, that attitude set the tone for the entire modern celebrity landscape, where the boundary between public and private just dissolved.
Truth or Dare made the personal public.
And reality TV has basically been running with that script ever since.
So her final legacy, it seems, is this constant transformation. She's rightly called pop's headmistress of reinvention.
Absolutely. You look at artists who came after her, Miley Cyrus, Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, Katy Perry. They all follow her template in so many ways. The spectacle, the visual artistry, the constant switching up of aesthetics and personas.
And she directly invested in other talent, too, right? Founded Maverick Records.
Yes. Important point. Maverick Records successfully launched Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, one of the biggest albums of the 90s. Her impact really does extend far beyond her own catalog.
So if we try to synthesize this massive career arc, it really comes down to, what, 3 key elements: power, innovation, and identity.
I think that sums it up well.
Yeah.
She blended all of those into this singular career that just obliterated the status quo, especially for female artists.
She used her power, her innovation, her confidence to reshape public perception.
But, and this is crucial, that use of identity is where the conversation gets incredibly complex.
Yeah.
And it leads us right into our final provocative thought for you, the listener.
Right. Madonna often treated the visual identities of other cultures, other groups. Think of the Harlem Vogue ballroom culture she brought to the mainstream with Vogue, or the flamenco imagery in La Isla Bonita. She treated them almost like fashion accessories.
It's a tough needle to thread. By doing so, she absolutely made those identities visible, even fashionable, to a massive global audience. She brought them out of the subculture.
But
this approach, even if intended as inclusive or appreciative, immediately sparked major conversations about cultural appropriation. The feminist critic Bill Hooks, for instance, was very critical.
What was Hooks's argument?
Hooks argued that Madonna appropriates Black culture in ways that mock and undermine the actual lived experiences behind those cultural forms, that it was superficial
So this duality is the core tension, isn't it? Advocacy through visibility on one hand.
versus appropriation on the other. She seemed to seek what you might call justice in optics, valuing the visual inclusion and celebration of marginalized identities, making them look cool, essentially.
But maybe didn't always connect that visual advocacy deeply to the real-world socioeconomics or the structural issues behind those identities.
That's the critique. So the question we leave you with is this. What does it mean when an artist seems to value affection, provocation, and visual representation above maybe deeper structural engagement?
And how should we weigh her undeniable impact, her pushing of boundaries, her allyship against these really valid critiques of cultural appropriation when we try to assess her monumental, complicated legacy?
Yeah, that's something to chew on, that tension, that complexity. It is the Madonna legacy in many ways.
Definitely something to keep mulling over. Until our next deep dive.